You've been dying to make a point as part of this discussion.
You asked so many questions that I think we also need to think about how can the future look different. And I think it's critical to think about what really is a utility in the future, because it may be something that looks different than what we see today. As we talk about the marriage of companies like IBM and Google or Hitachi or Sanyo with technologies, as they bring IT into the utility space, and maybe we create whole new business models we haven't even figured out yet today. And we have to be open to that possibility that might be the better way. If we truly think about how much the consumer wants to get into this space or not want to get in this space, in terms of, traditionally we've relied on, we plug things into the wall and that's all you need to know to solve your problems, to moving to a world where, well, you may want to at least know that your meters are working for you type world, to really an interactive in a different way that ties into the whole communication theme. So I think we have to be open to a future that looks different as we build on this legacy system. And then, if I may, Maurice, jump into the security. We spend a lot of time in our office thinking about the security of the cybersecurity world. And it's tremendously difficult space. The people today that are hacking into the grid, for example, or to computers, are so much more knowledgeable. They are growing leaps and bounds into how sophisticated they are. And our protection schemes need to grow at least at the same speed, if not a greater rate. And as we rely more and more on a smarter utility world, we have to recognize that can also become our greatest vulnerability. Thank you.
Well, if I can add one thing on that different way of thinking for the utility company, I find the thing when Bill was talking about, I was in a panel in Australia a little while ago, and I was in the panel with the CEO of Better Place Australia, so the electric vehicle company, and the CEO, president of the Energy Network Association, which is the industry association in Australia. And the CEO of ENA, the industry association, was talking and was explaining the industry and said, oh, we have 40,000 people working in the industry. And then he paused and hesitated, and he looked to his neighbor, the CEO of Better Place, and he said, oh no, we just lost one to you. And I commented later on it. It's very interesting what you just said, because it just depends on how you look at this industry. If we acknowledge that the industry might be transforming, that person might never have left. I fully agree with that point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very good. Other questions? Sir.
Thank you, Maurice. I'm Tom Oak, Bank of Tokyo, Mitsubishi in Washington, D.C. My question is the cost competitiveness of renewable energy and the government subsidy. As I understand, renewable energy needs, not all, but most of renewable energy needs a government subsidy, like wind power, solar system, and that's what they're operating now in the United States and also in Japan. But as you see, the coming the House of Representatives, the election, perhaps the Republican get the power, turn over. And perhaps many governors' race in the United States also made the Republican going to increase the Republican governorship. So I guess the goes well with a lot of Tea Party folks are shouting no more government spending, and again the backlash or the oil and gas industry may fight back. As you well know, the natural gas price is pretty low and maybe much lower with shale gas development. So I just wonder if the not much the government subsidy is expected for renewable energy sector or even the green technology developments, including a smart grid. How would you address those challenges? Maybe in some part possible, of course, a mass production, cost reduction, but will that be enough for your agenda?
Bill?
I think it's really crucial to frame the issue maybe a little differently, and that's the world is changing, as we've heard many times today. And there's a cost to doing nothing, and there's a cost to not making any investment at all. And that actually can exceed any costs we're talking about in making clean energy investments if we're not smart about it. And so I don't think it's a delta of from where we are today to what this clean might cost. It's controlling the deltas that are going to happen anyway. And I think that's no truer than if you look at variable power and solar and wind. We're doing a lot of research to bring down the cost, manufacturing, basic properties, bring down the cost of storage. Energy storage is very expensive today. If it was cheap, it would change the way we operate the system, just by itself. That may not be sufficient. Hawaii has the highest cost in the United States. Today, as we look at the solution sets, we think clean energy is going to be the cheapest solution set by 2030 for Hawaii. Now, that's not true in North Dakota, when I can get $5 or $6 a kilowatt hour for power instead of 30 or 35 cents. But it can be true in the future, and it all depends on, tell me what exactly is going to happen with oil and gas and access to coal and what the price of carbon is going to be. So I think we have to, from the public side and as nations, and internationally, we have to think about what are all those things in play and how do we balance them and what's the reasonable risk to take investing on the behalf of the people. And that's how we should look at it. And I think framing it that way, these investments are very smart investments.